What was the first things that you did?
Apart from
getting
assault teachers. Yeah, apart from
first police trouble.
the police are there constant from when you're young in Glasgow. They're just they have gangs in Glasgow, and they were massive when in my day when I was young. You had Protestant areas, Catholic areas, but you've also got territorial areas and gangs. So in my area, there's a gang called the Cumbie, and there's down the road there's a gang called the Hutchie, Then there's the Tongs, and there's the Brickton Dairy, which is across the bridge. They're quite famous ones, quite traditional Glaswegian gangs. And they would attack, they would fight on the bridge going across from where I live. I lived next to the River Clyde, and the Brickton Dairy would come to the one end of the bridge, and the Cumbie would come from the other bridge. Now, me and Brian, being very, very young, would watch this, and you're talking about hundreds of youths, hundreds of people.
It's not running at each other.
You're running at each other, and it's not one or two. Yeah. Now, we used to see these chars, they would all run at each other, and there was older guys, and the older guys would have big long coats on, yeah, and they would have swords down these. I mean, swords, right? Big long swords down their jacket. And other ones had butcher knives, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what they were going into battle with. Then there'd be open razors, So there was all this metal, just clash. And there would be they would have, it's like an artillery show, one army would have its archers. These type of armours, right? These sort of gangs would have, they've got milk crates full of bottles, they've got bags of stones and bricks and half bricks, and all the younger ones would throw these at once. So when I got older and I ran into battle, right? Right? When I got older, I started getting to the front a little bit. When you're running into battle, right? You see all these stones coming at you, and you don't know whether they're pigeons or sparrows or stones. Yeah. Yeah, you're going like that. Is that a pigeon? Is that a sparrow? And there's just loads of stones coming. Yeah. And this was every Saturday in the summer.
Every Saturday?
Every second of Saturday. On the bridge, yeah. And the fairground would come. We call it the shows, yeah. But that was massive. And so there was a path going down the side of the Whiskey Bond to my part. I lived in a place called Waterside Street. And where the Carlton Tongs came over once and threw something through my window. When it was 1 in the morning, my brothers were playing pool, and I think he became a good friend of mine. He was a guy called Johnny Kirby, and some other lads from Ringme. And I think they threw something. The 4 windows came into the top and smashed. The glass went all over the table. So me and Brian, my brothers, and that were all jumping out the window and the door, chasing them. But
so on the bridge then, with these battles, all these weapons, what kind of injuries are people getting?
Severe. Severe. Lots of people have got scars, and there are a lot of facial scars. But there's a lot of wounds on arms and legs and stuff, because if someone falls, they don't want to kill them, so they usually hit them in the lower limbs. And there was a lot of that. Wasn't anything chopped off, but because you just they was running in, and it was all short term, whacking someone and running away again, and jumping back. You know what I mean? But these were going on, and what was incredible was down the lane next to me, I was younger, there was all your stones and all that stuff was right. So there was a sort of an ammunition line, stuff getting handed up the line, and it was all organised, and there was leaders, and they were the ones at the front, you know what I mean? And they were renowned, and they were called the Gamies, in Glasgow they call them, someone who does that game, So people they were well known, these people, they were like pop stars, the ones at the front. And they were feared as well, But they were well known, and you had to doff your cap to them as you walked by, But the weird thing was the police were just another gang, Shaun. There was no sort of, you better get out here, guys, the police are coming. There was none of that. There was the police just like another gang. And when the police came, they treated you like they were another gang. Yeah, they just believed, you know what I mean? They just turned around, and they were brutal, The police were brutal, you know what I mean?
Did you experience any of that?
Yeah, police brutality.
What was your first experience of police brutality?
You were if you get caught by the police in Glasgow when I was born, when I was 12-year-old and 10-year-old, and whatever, my first experience was a policeman, a store detective, stopped me in Woolworths in the Glasgow City Centre. I was about 9-year-old, me and Brian, and he pulled me up he said that I stole a wee collie dog and a farm animal, which cost about 9p or something. But he took me, a 9-year-old boy, up to this office, which was terrifying. And he was hanging over me saying, "I know who you are. Your name's Dooley. I knew your dad. I knew your family, because I was a policeman in the Gorbals. I know the shit you come from, you know." This is what he was saying to a 9-year-old. This is an ex-policeman who's became a store detective. And he knew my family way back. And so I knew who the enemy was very, very quickly at that age. So he represented everything. That was my first image of a police. Then the next time was once you knew that you were going into a police station, you knew what was going to happen. What happened to me was I went to Craigie Street police station. I was handcuffed to a heater. I was beat up severely. Wanted me to sign something. Someone had died, been murdered in a gang fight. It wasn't me, I mean, but they wanted me to sign a confession saying that I was involved, you know, or they wanted me to say who was involved. And I was a very, really young, 13-year-old or something, and my face was like Elephant Man afterwards. So they presented me at my house about 3 a.m, and my sister home, she didn't recognise me. She opened the door and just nodding, and she just burst out crying. And then she's shouting at the police, you know, "Yeah, you're bastards," and all that. But like, so that stuff, so for that happening to you, and I mean severely, face all over the face, you know, swollen and all that. And so like, so that kind of told me who I'm up against. And one time on the Gorbals police station, there was me and my friend called, who will remain unknown, but like, so we ended up in the police station, and they handcuffed the chairs, and they've got wires and plugged in, and they're going to electrocute us, you know, threaten us and to stuff. Then they touched my mate, sitting where you are, Shaun. Yeah, now I'm handcuffed here. He's over there. They're telling me if I don't sign this, they're going to electrocute him. And they did. They had me open wires, man, and I seen him blew back on the chair, you know. So like, so we're 14, 15 years old, you know. This was grown men, and this is how they were treating us. Then they tell us that they can just say that we tried to escape as they drag you from the chair and push you across the window, 3 up or 2 up, you know. Those big frosted glass windows. So they've got you smashed against one of them, and the scenario is that I've jumped out the window to escape, handcuffed to a chair. So like, so this was the madness you were up against. And so how can you possibly establish some trust with law and order system if that's your experience of it? You know, and so a lot of the work I do now is to do with kind of offenders and stuff.
How soon was it before you started to get into drugs then?
I started, Shaun, all my life there was something not right within me. There was something broken inside me, you know, and I realised that at an early age, and I could never understand it. It wasn't I didn't feel part of. I never felt I could connect with people. I felt unsafe. I felt the world was an unsafe place. The relationships were unsafe from a very early age. So that's why I think me and Brian were always in gangs, and we're always the leader of that gang. And we made sure that was the case. And when it came to us joining gangs like these gangs I mentioned, we rejected that and we started our own. So we probably didn't last long, you know, but it was called the Waterside Rats, yeah. And I remember we made masks and we got a little rat. I think there was a dagger on it or something, and we sewed it to this stuff. But like that, later on, then we started kind of shoplifting and stuff like that, you know. But I'm digressing from what you were saying there about what was that you asked again?
Getting into drugs.
Yeah, when I was feeling them, and I don't know where that was, to try and establish myself and give me some sort of identity by being leader of a gang. But I felt less than. I felt a shame and a guilt that I didn't know where it came from. It was uncomfortable being me. Wasn't good in relationships. Then when I broke into the Mersey, which is a ginger factory, we call it ginger, it's pop, yeah. You call down here soft drinks, we call it ginger. So it's a big drink factory, it also had cider in it and stuff like that. So I sold that when I was 12-year-old or something, yeah, 13-year-old, right? After I'd been slashed, to tell you about that. But this time I've been slashed on the face, yeah, by a guy who accused me of seeing his girlfriend, yeah, which I wasn't doing, right? And, you know what I mean? He said unconvincingly, which I wasn't doing. And so we got in a fight and he hit me, and he had a razor in his hand, and it hit me there, and then ended up all blood. But I ended up going to a family's called the Fullertons, who lived in the Gorbals, and there was one of them members of the family was wheelchair bound, and they treated me and helped me, clean me up, then put oil early on my scar and told me that we'd be away in 18 months and stuff. So even then, I'm not relying on the police, I'm not relying on the hospitals or the accident emergency, all the normal routes in society. I'm not establishing any of them. And at the same time, I don't feel connected to any world I'm in. So when I stole that cider and I drank it, I felt connected. I felt all that stuff I felt went away. I felt normal. I felt that I was like normal people. So that was my first time. And from there was a lot of prescription pills going about Glasgow at the time. And there was headlines. They were cost 50 pence each. It was for a Valium or a DF. And these older guys, old men and pensioners and stuff, drinkers, yeah, they would sell their prescriptions to younger people. And they all hang about the shopping arcade in Glasgow and at the top outside the bookmakers, yeah. So like, you've got this sort of fence outside. They're all leaning against outside the post office where they can beg off whoever's cashing their Monday book, right? Where they can catch something there, all outside the bookies, yeah. And they're all hanging about there, and they're selling their hodgepodge of prescription pills to young people so they can buy their next can of Carlsberg or whatever it was at the time. That's where I came across Valium and DFs. And
what's a DF?
It's a dihydrocodeine. It's a painkiller, and that's a brand name, DF. And dihydrocodeine is very strong, and if you take a few of them, you can. It's very similar to heroin, you know, but you vomit a lot with them. But they were 50 pence, and the Valium was as well. Then there was temazepam and that, and also then there was Peach Palf, which is a really old one, you know, Chuno, really old ones. These were all 70s, 80s drugs, you know. I was drinking and taking pills, and so 2013, 14, I was going to school drunk. You know, I had a quarter bottle of whiskey in my pocket in school. You know, I gave up on school, Shaun. You know, why did you go to school? Just here for the beer, you know. And did you like school? Yeah, the beer was good. So it was just weird. But when I took these things and got out ahead, everything in my life was about being stoned or half drunk or half stoned or getting there, you know. Because I couldn't live in me. Mm-hmm.
Did you get into weed and ecstasy?
No, I didn't like weed much. There was a lot of that going about. But yeah, I took a lot of ecstasy, and I injected ecstasy as well.
Injected ecstasy?
Yeah, which I don't know if you've done that.
No. What's the procedure for that then?
I don't know what kind of person. I found out later that people who use intravenously, which I done later on in life with heroin, cocaine, and crack cocaine, and snowballs and stuff. People who use it are the biggest risk takers.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's true, but apparently that's what they say. Yeah. No, I was like you. I was involved in drug dealing, ecstasy, selling it. There was a lot of money to be made.
How old were you then?
At the time, 20, 18, no, 20, yeah, 21 and that. And so me and Brian were involved in that and taking it. And it's that really feel good fact of the ecstasy, you know, boom. So it doesn't matter if you're taking it 2 in the morning or 2 in the afternoon, you know. I don't need music. I don't need to dance, you know. I just need to feel 9 feet tall and the whole world looks pink, you know what I mean? Yeah, and I've got a permanent smile on my face. And yeah, and carrying a knife, you know. Which kind of start contrasting, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're supposed to be this peace-loving guy on ecstasy, and yet you're carrying weapons, guns, knives.
You said guns. You said guns, though.
Yeah, well, I used to come across and sometimes carry a gun if I had to, you know. I went to prison for firearms.
How did you get your first gun? How does that come about in this country where guns aren't legal?
Well, the ecstasy it was me looking for a bigger high. That's why I used heroin. I used ecstasy the way I did. How easy it was to get a gun was I come from the south side of Glasgow. There was a lot of connection with criminals and IRA, which was terrorists, and the war in Ireland at the time, and how this overspilled and impacted on certain areas in Glasgow, whether they be Protestant or Catholic. And there was a lot of people supporting, which they called the cause. And I've learned today that I'm the cause. No, I was trying to explain to people, you know. And my brother Brian says, "No, Kevin, you're the cause." No, remember that. So I'm supposed to be involved and I'm supposed to be swept away by this because I'm Catholic and I'm from a big Catholic family, and people just typically put you in a box, you know, that this is what you're about. When the last thing I wanted to be involved was some cause in another country and or giving any of my money or belongings to them, you know. But like so what happened would be we were that close to the troubles in Ireland that we would be in a pub, yeah, and a member of the IRA would come in and other representative in Scotland and Glasgow, as they called themselves, right? And they would ask for the keys to someone's house, and my friends would gladly surrender their keys to the house. And that house was to be a safe house. It's now got munitions and Semtex and semi-automatic weapons and cash and just like a cash and carry armory, you know, in their living room. And wow. But they would do that voluntary and they would get nothing for it. And my friends who were Protestants were robbing banks and getting £30,000 and sending it straight over the sea for their cause. And everyone had a cause. And they would be impoverished and living in low-level housing in impoverished areas in Glasgow, but they wouldn't spend a penny and all that. So they would go to jail after robbing a bank, whereas that would never cross my mind. If you rob a bank and you got 30 grand, I mean, I wouldn't be sending it across to some terrorist organisation, you know. But like so, that was going on, and it's the same on the Catholic side as well. There was Catholic criminals closely connected to IRA, so there was a lot of access to weapons. And the first weapon that I seen was in a house on a coffee table with a free bar heater and 3 ducks on the wall, all very normal, yeah, in the house, flowery curtains, and there were 6 pistols put down on the table, yeah. And I must have been 16 years old, you know. But like this Irish, this IRA, the war in Ireland impacted so much that teachers at school were asking me and Brian and approaching us to get involved in promoting the cause. So like so, which we spoke to each other and we refused. You know, there's nothing in it. You know, for us. You know what I mean? So, if we wanted a weapon at that time, it's probably because I fell out with somebody and I thought maybe I needed it. But like so, I didn't. You know, but it was there.